Hey, hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back. All right. So, Saggies, let's get into this, shall we? Sagittarians, I didn't want to keep you guys waiting too much longer because you got cheated out of 2 videos last week, and I wasn't letting that happen to you guys this week. So, this is your second one this week. I think you got your other one on Thursday. So, if you missed that, you can find it in the Sagittarius playlist. But for this one, I wanted to ask the question. What is Sagi's instinct kind of guiding them to? Simply because this week was my little cattle dog's birthday, and of course, as a herding breed, herding things like horses, cows, birds, anything, everything that he can possibly herd, even like insects. I feel like that's a nice metaphor for how our instinct guides us also. AC, Black Butterfly 25, Calm C, thank you so much, guys. It's so good to see all of you. We have a Seven of Swords. Okay, this doesn't look awesome, unfortunately, because it's like if Sagi's instinct is telling them, I'm not sure I trust somebody. I'm not sure that they aren't maybe a little less than truthful. I'm not sure that I can say that I don't think that there's somebody who's a little sly or they're going to maybe immaturely not tell me everything. Or look, somebody doesn't have to be a terrible intentional liar to still be someone who, like they tell the big fish story instead of a real story. They embellish. That can be a form of lying. But this card really does represent somebody that they might slip out and slip away from responsibilities. And if Saggi's instinct is telling me that, possibly about a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, Five of Swords, and then they get hostile about it, that could be one of the signs that Sag notices about that. Moonlight Shadow, Slave Princess, Jeannie Vale, thank you so much for being here, everybody. This feels so... Moonlight Shadow, I'm glad you saw it. That's awesome. This feels like Sag is probably noticing for obvious reasons. This is not like Sag has to go doing some deep sleuthing and deep dive. If somebody gets hostile when Sag tries to like ask them a question, they get way defensive, they shut down, they do ghosting, they block. The Five of Swords can be any of that. They, overreact, or they go silent, or they change the topic, or they get pissed off, or they intentionally ghost. All of that could be what Sag is noticing, and Sag's instinct is like, not really sure that I want to deal with this. I got one foot out the door because Sag is in an energy of Two of Wands. Maybe I won't stay in this. I know that I don't have to put up with this. If I'm not digging the way they're treating me, if I don't think I can really trust this person, then what role am I going to really give them in my life? And I might have to reconsider that. We've got the train of camels going across the desert. I feel like that's the train of thought. It's almost like Sag is projecting into the future and saying, if I keep dealing with someone that right out of the gate, or someone that I already am having reservations about, do I really think that that's going to get better over time or worse over time? Am I going to find myself second guessing them more over time? Because look, I mean, a journey across the Sahara Desert's got to be pretty arduous. And if their mind is already crossing that tough terrain, their train of thought is going, gosh, I could see me getting really exhausted, really fatigued if I got to keep dealing with somebody that honestly always gets hostile anytime I ask a question. We have a Nine of Wands. I do think Sag is trying to be incredibly generous and saying, well, maybe this person is behaving in a certain way because they don't want to tell me everything about what's going on because they have some wounds, they have some scars. I can respect that. I don't have to classify this person as like, oh, they're just a liar. They're just, intentionally trying to be, rude or whatever. I think this is very big of Sag to be mindful that we don't know what journey someone else has been on. However, Sag is also aware that, like, I've been on a journey too. They might not be the only person who's ever known heartbreak, hurt, pains. They might not be the only person who's ever been a wounded warrior. Maybe Sag has been that too. And Sag is like, So I'm going to go ahead and say, and I'm not signing up for battles, and I'm not signing myself up to get pummeled. I want to be sensible while still being kind. I want to make clear-headed decisions, compassionate decisions, but compassionate for myself as well as for someone else. I really like the fact that it feels like one of those real tough storylines. It's actually being made much simpler. Instead of Sag being like, maybe I'm being too demanding of someone. Maybe they're really wounded and that's why they behave these ways. And maybe I'm asking too much of them. Sag is like, no, I'm acknowledging that everyone does have their story, but so do I, and I matter too. And I just like the fact that the instinct here is to protect oneself, but to also be kind and understanding with others. Still doesn't mean that someone just gets to play a role in Sagi's life, though. We have a Five of Pentacles. It kind of sucks quite a bit, though, because it's like everything that this could be, it's kind of slipping away. We're hemorrhaging the possibility of us having the golden temple together. And that sucks. That really does suck. But I still think maybe it's not that Sag can't have something wonderful with this person. Maybe it's not the right time. I don't know. Let's see. Sag, what's the instinct talking about on that? King of Wands, the Hanged Man. It's exactly it. But see, this Sag is also wise enough to say, oh, I do think they could be amazing. I think that they could be fabulous. Right now, I think they're kind of a liar, or they're kind of somebody who dodges truth. I think that there's someone who has an amazing heart, though. They could be fabulous. I just don't know when they're going to be fabulous. They're hiding something from me. And what they're hiding could be the fact that they are over giving to too many other people in their life. And I'm kind of the person getting the last breadcrumbs. I don't think it's because they aren't loving. I just think that they're not telling me the truth about how much else they sacrifice for other people in their life, and that maybe they don't want me to know that. Maybe they're ashamed of how much they give to others. Maybe they feel even acknowledged that they get a little bit used by even their family members, but they don't know how to put a stop to it, and they get hostile if I try to bring it up. Or maybe they are kind of breadcrumbing me and they wish that I didn't see it that way, even if it is the truth. But they're not breadcrumbing me because they don't want to give me more. They're breadcrumbing me because they don't know how to put a stop to their martyring themselves in many other ways. But can I wait for someone who may or may not ever be able to be this amazing version of themselves that I know they are? I don't know that I can wait on that. Should I have to wait to have someone ready to give to me? I feel like all of these are like such valid questions, such, like this Sag has a really strong sense of their worth, but they also, how big of them to be able to say, oh no, this person is beautiful. They're a wonderful, I'm going to say he has a huge heart. Now in this particular deck, this is Horus. And in the Egyptian pantheon of gods, Horus is the son of Osiris and Isis. And when his uncle Set, the storm god, kills his father, Osiris, it's Horus who goes to avenge his father's death and goes out into the desert to fight his uncle. And in that fight, his eyes are plucked out by his uncle. And Thoth, the god of all wisdom of knowledge, gives Horus back his eyes, but he gives him some added power. So he winds up with the power of the sun in one eye and the healing energy of the moon in the other eye. Now, all around the world, we all know the eye of Horus. It's a falcon eye, right? The eye of a falcon. But that symbol all around the world is known as an eye of like protection, a symbol of like it wards off negative energy and such. And so the only reason I tell all of that is because it's like this character, Sag might say, they could be my perfect mate. They could be amazing. I see the good in them. I see that they're super honorable. I see that they're trying to do right by, their extended family members. Because this card goes from being the Hanged Man is a delay, but in this deck, this is the sun dance. And it is, like paying tribute with the one thing that a human owns, which is their own body, and like surrendering that to the universe, to the good of the community. It's a very strenuous and painful experience, but on the other hand, it's also like a huge symbolic thing of like tremendous generosity. I give the one thing that I own to, the creator, and also to, my community. I mean, they survive. It's just that it's a painful particular, like, rite of passage, I'll call it. To my limited knowledge, I don't know a lot about it, but I read up on it for this particular deck. And this card specifically can cross the line into martyrdom, martyring oneself. And when we get these two together, that's why I'm saying I think this person is a really great person. And I think Sag knows that. But Sag also is looking at it with eyes wide open, and they're seeing it from the opposite side of the spectrum too, and saying a great, beautiful hearted person who is spending all their energy to give to others instead of building with me. And then they don't want to admit that part. And then they get upset and frustrated because even they probably know I'm maybe over giving in other areas, but I don't know how to put a stop to it. And I also know what I'm losing. I'm going to lose my chance at having my golden temple, my golden life with my Sag, but I don't right now know how to course correct. And I think that makes sense why Sag says, I think this is their wounding. This is them not knowing how to really stand up for themselves, even though maybe they want to protect everybody else. Maybe they want to be good to so many other people. But I gotta receive something also. So until they're done giving to everybody else and can focus more on me, I might have to let them go. And I think that's more the instinct here. It's not really sad. It's more like Sag is seeing the good in them, seeing the problems that exist here, and also knowing that they need better. They need more right now in their own life. They need this person to be able to be more committed. We have the Chariot in the reverse. I think this is Sag saying my instinct tells me they're not moving toward me right now. They simply are not. They're not stepping into their personal empowerment and being able to choose for themselves what they want, so long as they're letting themselves be martyred or make themselves feel like their job is to take care of everybody else. So if I remove myself from this, I don't think they're going to follow me. Not right now. So what does that mean? Actually, let's change decks and let's ask universe, do you want to weigh in on this for Sag? Because, I mean, it hurts that Sag isn't getting more from this, but the Seven of Swords is, again, the first card that comes out. Even like, it's kind of like the universe is saying, well, Sag is reading that someone is putting on a happy face when in fact they might be really trying to act like everything's good, everything's normal. Sag, just don't ask me any questions about how much I'm giving and where I'm giving all that energy to. Just don't ask me, and I can just keep smiling. And if you smile and lie with me, then we can act like this is fine and normal. Four of Sacred Circles, Four of Swords, High Priestess. There's such a subcontext in this. There's such like, even here, Sag is like, oh, baby, if only you could heal. If only you could let that sand out of your kimono. It's weighing you down. If only you could heal. I can see where your scars are. I can see where your wounds are. I can see where those ghosts are. I feel like this is a very complicated person where maybe they've been trained most of their life to smile like everything's fine when it isn't. Maybe they have a hyper, like, enhanced feeling of like guilt or responsibility for people that they shouldn't have to feel responsible for, and that could have come from their past. This is somebody who holds back, holds on to the past, perceived mistakes, and then always feels guilty and always feels like they have to somehow be the one person on earth who's going to make it right for everybody else, but by sacrificing themselves. Like, they lay themselves down on the ashes, on the fire, all because they feel like they made a mistake somewhere in their life. And that could all be false. It could have been guilt heaped upon them. The fact that Sag can look at this and say, man, I can watch them and say, I definitely, if I did any of that to my own self in my life, they are a huge representation of what I personally am not going to lug around with me anymore. God, I wish they could do the same. If only they could see it, see their own behavior the way I can see it. I can feel it. I know, and they know. You know what's great about this? The universe says Sag and this person are actually on very much the same page. Everybody knows, especially with 2 4s there, even if Sag isn't having this dialogue with this person, I think that this king knows that Sag is withdrawing from them. I think this person knows exactly why. And I think if anything, they know that Sag looks at them with so much compassion. And it's like, baby, if only you quit living in that ghostly memory of what you perceive as like the thing that you have guilt over, the thing that you got to go make everything right. You're not allowed to like express your own needs. You're not allowed to go after what you want for yourself. And you got to act like that's good, that's normal, you're happy, over giving to everybody instead of standing up for yourself and what you want. I see all that in you, and I know you're not doing this to be mean to me. This is like Sag really reading the room, really reading the full situation, comprehending it. And I really think that they also know. Sag gets it, Sag knows, but this is a big unspoken conversation between the two of them. They're not moving towards Sag right now. Sag knows it. Sag is not probably going to be able to hang out and wait on them. But Sag is absolutely saying, I'm gonna step back, and I'm gonna maybe give you the space to hopefully find a way to heal from what you keep doing to yourself, because I know why you're doing it, and I hope that you heal. It could even be, and this is not to be rude, but maybe they'll heal better if Sag does step back from them, because that's one less person for them to either feel guilty that they're not giving to, or one less person. In fact, if anything, this incredible amount of comprehension and understanding that Sag is gifting them, this quiet, just, like, I know you're a good person. I also know you have a lot on your plate. So I'm going to step back. Sag isn't saying you're a liar. How come you're not giving more to me? When are you going to let people stop taking advantage of you? Sag doesn't like no recrimination, no meanness, no, harsh words that might also be true. Sag instead, I think, is going to handle this with so much grace, but it's giving them the space to maybe allow themselves to heal while knowing that Sag gets it, and Sag is supporting them, and Sag actually thinks highly of them, but doesn't want to be there to kind of watch them, overgive of themselves and keep themselves stuck. Even if it means Sag is like, I feel like this is slipping away for us, and I might have to let it slip away, because if they're not ready to choose happiness with me, it won't work anyway. They'll still always be giving me breadcrumbs while still trying to make everything up to everybody else. So until they can get themselves healed, this can't work anyway. But there is still great potential here. I just think this is Sag stepping away. I think that's kind of what the universe is saying. Sag has already been putting that into play for all the right reasons. But it's a very compassionate, very loving story. I don't know if I've explained it in a very gentle way. I've tried to, but I don't know if I found the right vocabulary. We have a 10 of Cups in the reverse. Here's the thing. The universe is being a little bit more blunt right now and saying they're when Sag withdraws from them, as they already have been doing and I think are continuing to do, I think that's going to be maybe a good thing, because their sunshine's going to be gone. As Sag withdraws further and further, they're going to be able to find greater peace on one hand, because they're going to be forced to, because they're not going to like having Sag gone. Even if they were only giving Sag breadcrumbs, this person, this King of Wands, is not going to like having the absence of Sag. It's going to be very noticeable to them. It's not going to be a good time. In fact, it's going to promote. They might be back in Sag's life way quicker. They may finally get themselves, to make those changes that they have to, and head right on back into Sag's arms, or at least maybe by winter. Now, we're just heading into spring and then followed by summer, of course, here in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, they're exiting, they're on the opposite, timeline that we're on. So their winter is going to come real soon. But it just looks like we have, it could be sometime still this year that they'll be back with Sag, and back and better than ever, ready to genuinely collaborate. But Sag is the one detaching from them in the storyline to allow them the space to do whatever it is that they got to do. Because I don't think Sag wants to watch them, like struggle with this. But also Sag is knowing that I can't settle for less than everything. You got to be ready to like build with me But more than anything, I just care about you figuring out what you need to do and get yourself healed. But you do have to do that. And I can't stand around and, watch you as long as you keep making choices that are not contributing to your healing. But it's almost like Sag is just, I guess they'll come find me if and when that happens. And it just says in this story, the universe is like, it's going to happen a lot faster than Sag thinks, because they're going to recognize it's nothing motivates us to make change more so than discomfort. If you're sitting and it's hurting, what do? You move, right? If somebody said, hey, that posture that you're in is bad, and you're like, yeah, but it's comfortable. Okay, but it's going to totally jack up your back later on in life. Yeah, but I don't care because it's comfortable. Like, we don't feel the motive to change. But if something stings, hurts, if something's taken away from us and we want it back, we just might be more guided to make a change. Now, I'm not saying that Sag is intentionally doing this. Like, let me use my energy as like a carrot to entice them to make a change faster. But I'm saying that seems to be what the universe says is going to wind up happening. You know what? Actually, this turned out to be a pretty dang good message after all, even though it started out pretty bumpy. We have a lot of positive change in this. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you so much. Really good to see everybody. Delani, how are you? Moonlight Shadow, thank you again. Angel, hi. Hi, Astro, how are you? Wonderful to see you, hun. Hi, Sun. Tammy Secord, hi, sweetheart. Carrie B from me, hola. One ring to rule 3 pigs. Great to catch you. It's been a hot minute. Oh, Jeannie Vale, that's wonderful. Tomorrow is your twins' 29th birthday. That's awesome. Happy birthday to them. Well, and to you. If it's twinned energy, then hopefully you get to celebrate too. All right, you guys, really nice to see everybody. AC, thank you again, love. You were first in the house. Black Butterfly 25, always so nice to catch you. Thanks again, Calm C. Honored you were up late tonight. Slave Princess, hey, beauty. All right, you guys. Thank you, Slave Princess. You're so sweet. All right, you guys. I will see you. I'm going to do another one, at least one more, possibly 2 more still tonight. But I think I should go to Gemini and probably Ophiuchus, because those were the 3 zodiacs that kind of got cheated. And I always try to rebalance stuff if I possibly can. And then tomorrow, Sunday, is when we'll get to all the other zodiacs. I feel like I need to make things right for these 3 zodiacs. I had a rough run with my lungs, like last Sunday all the way up until almost Wednesday. And so a couple of zodiacs didn't get their normal run. So that's why I'm trying to bump them up in the list. So I think we'll go to Gemini next. Thank you guys so much for being here. Lots of love. I'll see you guys in Gemini.